Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Amanda Caparro, and today I will be talking to you a little bit about nature-based solutions and the need for their implementation into adaptation strategies for coastal communities facing the threat of climate change impacts. This is just a quick preview of the items my presentation will be touching on today. First, we will discuss coastal communities and the particular threats that they are facing due to climate change. Next, we will discuss nature-based solutions with a discussion of what nature-based solutions are, their history, and the many benefits that they can provide as an adaptation strategy for coastal communities. Finally, I will review the conclusions of my research on this topic, and the last slide will provide some references for further reading on the subject. First, let us begin by discussing coastal communities. Coastal communities are on the front lines of climate change around the globe. Some of the impacts that these cities are facing include flooding, damage from coastal storms, which are increasing in both frequency and intensity, coastal erosion, and freshwater inundation, to name a few. In the past, shoreline hardening measures, such as seawalls or revetments, have been the traditional methods of protection from these threats. However, these measures are costly to build and maintain, and in many cases can interrupt natural shoreline processes and contribute to further erosion and what is known as coastal squeeze. Given the drawbacks of traditional measures and the increasing risks associated with climate change, it has become clear that we need new ideas to better protect coastal communities from the impacts of climate change. This is where climate adaptation strategies come into play. And one of the climate adaptation strategies that is currently gaining a lot of traction are nature-based solutions. Nature-based solutions are defined by the International Union for Conservation of Nature as actions to address societal challenges through the protection, sustainable management, and restoration of ecosystems, benefiting both biodiversity and human well-being. It is important to note that nature-based solutions are not a new concept, having been discussed in a World Bank report in the early 2000s, but there is increased interest and funding available for these solutions currently. In recent years, both the IUCN and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have issued guidance documents establishing standards for the implementation of nature-based solutions. And there has been a significant amount of research in recent years that indicate that nature-based solutions are a creative and necessary adaptation strategy for coastal communities. If you look at this diagram here on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see some of the nature-based solutions that we will be discussing, which include coastal wetlands, submerged oyster reefs, and hybrid or artificial reefs. One of the most important and well-researched benefits associated with the nature-based solutions are the storm risk mitigation benefits. Some of the types of nature-based solutions mentioned on the previous slide, such as hybrid reefs or coastal wetlands, have been proven to be able to act as natural buffers to absorb wave energy and slow storm surge. This graphic looks at the wave and surge attenuation properties of tidal marshes and mangrove forests. As you can see from the graphic, these ecosystems are most effective at wind wave attenuation, but they also have benefits for attenuating storm surge and wave heights. In addition to the protection that wetlands can provide against coastal storm buffers, they can also trap sediment and prevent erosion along the shorelines. potentially offsetting rising sea levels in some areas. Certain species of coastal wetland grasses have demonstrated a resilience and even resistance to the effects of sea level rise. This graphic on the right comes from a 2019 paper by researchers at the University of the Western Cape in South Africa. They performed modeling that examined the sediment accretion rates of different species of coastal marsh grasses. They found that those accretion rates in coastal wetlands are able to outpace the IPCC sea level rise estimates. In layman's terms, this means that these areas with coastal wetlands are able to gain elevation faster than the sea level rise is anticipated to rise, protecting the shoreline in those areas. Now, the reality of coastal cities is that there are many areas where wetland restoration would require retreat from the shoreline that just may not be feasible. This is especially true in urban cities where coastal development and shoreline hardening have grown very close to the coastline. In those areas, however, the implementation of nature-based solutions is still possible. These are places where a multiple lines of defense strategy would be more appropriate. As you can see from the graphic on this slide, Miami-Dade County is an area where the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers is currently studying the feasibility of this approach, which would involve implementing nature-based solutions offshore or in areas where development is not as close to the coast. But the gray infrastructure methods of storm surge barriers would still be utilized as well. This approach maximizes the best of both worlds, with gray and green measures being implemented. Obviously, as humans, we are very concerned with protecting coastal cities and the development along the coast. However, nature-based solutions also offer the added benefit of helping to address biodiversity concerns and helping to build back healthy, functioning ecosystems. The graphic on this slide shows the results of a review of more than 100 nature-based solutions designed to address climate change impacts. Those solutions were found to also have positive outcomes for increasing biomass, increasing biodiversity, and improving ecosystem function. More than half of all the nature-based solutions reviewed as part of this study were found to increase both biomass and biodiversity. This is an important co-benefit of nature-based solutions implementation. Finally, when we compare nature-based solutions with traditional shoreline hardening measures, we find that nature-based solutions are more cost-effective. These solutions have fewer upfront costs, fewer maintenance costs, and more comprehensive benefits. This is especially true when we examine the various co-benefits associated with nature-based solutions, such as the increase in biodiversity we just discussed, as well as the willingness to pay across a number of different communities. In fact, people are found to be more willing to pay for nature-based solutions given their aesthetic, recreational, and environmental benefits. In conclusion, nature-based solutions are an important adaptation strategy for coastal communities facing the impacts of climate change. Nature-based solutions can provide protection against coastal storms and flooding for cities on the coast, and they also have the ability to fight sea level rise by accreting sediment along the shoreline. Nature-based solutions, as part of a multiple lines of defense strategy, can provide an additional layer of protection in areas where coastal wetlands are not feasible. Beyond the protection that nature-based solutions provide for coastal communities, they also provide critical habitat for a number of important coastal species. And nature-based solutions are also often a more cost-effective solution than traditional shoreline hardening measures, especially when we take into account the significant co-benefits that they provide. I believe that given all of the research in the field of nature-based solutions, it is a logical conclusion that the implementation of nature-based solutions as part of an overall climate change strategy only makes sense and is in the best interest of communities along the coast whose livelihoods depend upon the ability to adapt to a shifting landscape of climate-related impacts. Thank you very much for your time.